Welcome back, everyone. So obviously, I've been away a bit. Unfortunately, I have a relative that had a stroke, and so I've been busy trying to assist with that, as well as there's just been the end of the school year, so there's been a lot of activities going on with that as well with the family. And then finally, my work has been a bit chaotic as we're going through a bit of a reorganization. So it has been fun times. As they say, life comes at you fast. So I've been unmotivated to do some video stuff due to that, but just generally speaking, I do want to get this out here. And I was planning on doing a whole thing about the way I was planning on doing Invictus, but honestly, all of that got thrown out the window with the Idris release as it is. And I even thought the Idris, like I was fully sold on the idea. You all know that the Idris was coming out, but it still blew me away how quickly that all went down and that it actually came along, right? So that being said, I want to talk about speculative CCUs. I would say Warbond CCUs have been very lackluster. I'm probably not the only one that will be saying that. I also have not been playing very long, so I don't even know what good war bonds necessarily look like. As obviously, CIG is very aware that this is a full-on game at this point, and that it's something they have to be mindful of when they're going ahead and selling these war bond options. That being said, what is a speculative CCU? Now, there's kind of two ways to speculate. One is if you see a ship such as the Raft that got a big rework, there's always a chance that CIG decides, wow, the 125 that we charge for that is not enough. This ship is more valuable, right? Is it worth the 135, 140, 150? We think players should pay more for it. So there's always a chance they raise the value of a ship. And that being said, if you were to buy a Nova to Raft upgrade for $5, and you could do it in store credit, although again, unfortunately, the Raft's not available right now, so it'd have to have been something that you would have recently purchased. But if you would have done that, there's a chance that if the price goes up, you're speculating fully, you potentially could get more value out of that. That being said, that's all very speculative. What I want to talk about today is a little less speculation. It is speculative still, but it's the idea that ships come out as a concept pricing. So the Starlancer attack is the best recent example of that. Whereas the Starlancer attack was recently being sold for, before Invictus, was $330. However, today it is $375. That's because it has come out. It's no longer under concept pricing, it's under its full released price. That being said, we don't know how much it would go up in price, but it went up by $45. So if anybody had, for example, I purchased the Aquila, which is $315 to the TAC, for $15 when it was $315 to $330, and now that is worth significantly more. This is how much it would be worth instead. So if I wanted to do this upgrade today, it would cost me this amount of money. It would be $60. I have to pay that extra $45. However, I was able to purchase this for $15 back when this is $330. Even today, if I wanted to buy this on Warbond, I would still have to pay an extra $10 just to get this Warbond upgrade. So it's still good value to pick up these. Additionally, I was able to do that with store credit, right? So you can purchase when they're not, when you're doing these upgrades, if you're doing it with the ship that hasn't come out yet. So let's just take a look at some of these ships, right? So we'll start with the Apollo. The Apollo is currently being named by name in the updates. So we do know they're actively working on the Apollo. So there's a high probability, and they've almost said just as much, that it comes out by the end of the year. It's also one of the ships that was shown at the end of last year's CitizenCon with the silhouettes. So it is actively something they're working on. So if you wanted to today, I could buy this $10 upgrade from the Andromeda to the Triage in store credit, and it would be just as good as a war bond. When the ship comes out, there's a chance it's what, 360? It could be 260. It could be upwards of 275. I don't think it goes much higher than 275. I mean, it could go all the way up to 300. Who knows? It's up to CIG to set that price. I would think the top end, it probably goes to 275. So that would then, if you wanted to buy this today, you could buy it for $10. However, once the ship comes out, if it's 275, you have to pay that extra. It would be, instead of $10, it'd be an extra 30. It would be $35 instead. So that's where you're getting the extra value. It almost acts as a war bond, but it's through speculation. So if you wanted to get this today, you could. And again, you could use store credit because it's not a war bond. And then you could put it in the buyback, or you can just hold on to it and keep it. If you keep it, you don't have to buy it back later. However, if there's a hint or word on the street that the Apollo is currently getting ready to be released, you would just go to your buyback, if you had put it in your buyback, and buy it back for the $10. And you may say, Guardian, if I have to do that, I have to pay regular money. Or you could use a token, but I wouldn't necessarily do that. Well, the thing is, you'd have to pay that anyways for a war bond as it is. So I don't see the harm in that. If you want to, again, if you want to put this in your buyback, you can do that. You have to buy it back with real currency, or you just hold on to it and keep it in your account. But again, you can just spend $10 of store credit to do that today. However, you do have to wait for the triage to come out to actually get that perceived value. You have to also, you'll know how much you actually made on it. That's where the speculation truly comes in. But as I showed with the TAC earlier, that only took 6 months for that to turn around, right? So this is definitely the long game. That being said, what are some of the other ships that we know are coming? Well, the Perseus is another great example of that. right? So you could buy the Perseus today as well. That being said, there's just not a lot of room got the top here above the Perseus. Now, I would expect the Perseus to at least be the same price as the Hammerhead once it comes out. So I would expect it to go up by the $50 gap here. It could go up even higher. It could go upwards and be closer to the Hercules. So you can see it's going to only be able to be jumped to maybe the Hercules, the A2 at best. Worst case, it's only jumpable to the Polaris, which is still a big gap, right? So the Perseus really right now is for people that want to get the Perseus, and feel free to do that. But unfortunately, there's not a lot of speculation here. You could continue to hold it if you want to wait for other ships to come out. After, for example, right now, the Nautilus is more expensive. So I did pick up the Warbond when the Perseus was offered at that price point. And I picked up the Nautilus of the Warbond as well. And so what I'll do is I'll wait for the Nautilus to come out. If I decide I want to upgrade the Perseus, I will have to wait for the Nautilus to come out because the Perseus will jump over the Nautilus soon. So soon I will not be able to apply that CCU until the Nautilus actually comes out. So it's kind of a weird thing, but yeah, let me know in the comments if you want me to get into the intricacies of that. But this is more of an advanced concept, but it is something to be considered. The Ironclad, they're actively working on the Ironclad as well. So it begins to be the question of, do you think it'll come out by the end of this year? That is hard to say. Me personally, I think they released the Ironclad, but I don't necessarily think we'd see the Ironclad Assault. I do think the Ironclad Assault does require some repair features, possibly even crafting. So I don't think we'll see the Ironclad Assault the same day we see the Ironclad, but it's possible we see both. So if you wanted to, again, you could purchase these on Drake Day. We can't purchase them right now. That's why I have them here on the left. But soon, when Drake Day comes out, here in 2 days, you should be able to purchase these if you're interested in buying that. A good example here would be the Ironclad. You'd be able to purchase the difference between the Ironclad and the Prowler. The Prowler is $450, whereas the Ironclad is, the Prowler is, $440, and the Ironclad is $450. So if you wanted to spend the $10 today, you could do that in store credit. And then whenever the Ironclad comes out, you would be able to pick up that value and it would allow you to jump to bigger ships, right? So this could go upwards of $500, like the Hull C. So if you wanted to get something like the M2, you could hold on to this, the Ironclad upgrade. So you could spend $10 today, hold on to that till the Ironclad comes out. And it's possible this goes up by $50. It could go up $25 to be the same as the 600i. It could go up towards to $500. And at that point, it would only cost you $20 to go between these two. And you're just spending $10 during the Drake Day in order to do that. And store credit, again, you could use store credit. You could use real money if you don't have store credit available. But if you wanted to spend Prowler to Ironclad, you could do that in store credit. And again, hold on to that or put it back in your buyback and just pull it back out before the Ironclad actually releases. And then you'll get to keep that perceived value once it comes out. So again, we're talking long game here. The Ironclad Assault, I suspect it will go up as well. Do you think I think it'll go at least 550. That seems reasonable to me. Does it go above that? Does it go to like the 575? I don't know. It's hard to say. And then it begins a game of, well, there's not much left after that to go up to, but there's other things like the Merchantman. So if you wanted to hold on to the Ironclad Assault, but again, I don't suspect the Ironclad Assault, it's not going to be something I would recommend to people to purchase. Well, I'm not recommending people purchase any of these, to be honest, but it's just something to think about. I don't want to belabor this too long. The other one that'll be available tomorrow will be the Paladin. We have not had any news on the Paladin and when it potentially could come out. That being said, it's closest to something like the Redeemer. So I would expect to see this jump by at least $30 to be the same price as the Redeemer. I think that's reasonable to ask and to expect because they're both gunships. So this should be at least $330 when it comes out. I don't know why it would be cheaper than the Redeemer. It could be more. It could be upwards of $350. So it could go above. It could jump up to the Gemini. So you could get $50 of value out of it. Who knows? We don't know for sure, but I would expect it to at least be the Redeemer price. So tomorrow, when it comes time to potentially pick up the Paladin, again, you could use store credit if you have it available to you. You can spend just a few bucks. You could spend $10 to go for, I think, the Harbinger. Let's take a look here. Again, I have to look on this side because it's not currently made available, but tomorrow it will be made available on the right-hand side here on Anvil Day, and it will be available that day. It's possible it comes out. If it comes out, this totally messes with my plan, but I don't see that happening. Jared had said before that all ships that were going to be brought out were made available before they were shown in a video before Invictus. So I don't suspect to see it. I don't even know if they'll talk about it, to be honest. And we don't know if it'll come out later this year either. But I have this in speculation anyways. I have a Harbinger to Paladin that cost me $10 in store credit. And currently, I think I have it. I currently have 2 of them, but it's something I'm going to buy more of and keep in my cart. and I will put them in my buyback, and I will pick them back up by the end of the year because I think it's possible we see the Paladin by the end of the year. It also could come before that. But anyways, you should start to get hints from pipeline leaks and other YouTube videos as soon as there's hints that it could be coming out or there's leaks. At that point, you would then want to pull a proverbial trigger on purchasing back this particular $10 CC chain. For again, this should go from $300 to $350, or sorry, $330. It should at least go up by $30. It could go higher. I doubt it goes any lower. I expect to at least get $30 of value out of this. Or you could just buy it now again because you want to buy the Paladin at a cheaper price. Possibly we would see it go on War Bond, but it wouldn't go cheaper than this, probably $300. Anyways, that's about it. Something to think about for those that are interested in buying something on speculation. I think these are the ships to look at. Let me know in the comments if I missed anyone. I don't think I did. I'm a little scatterbrained right now, getting everything going on. People let me know in the comments if there's other ones to be watching for. But again, today you could purchase these if you're interested. The coming days, tomorrow you'll be able to purchase the Paladin if you're interested in potentially speculating on that. And the following day you'll be able to pick up the Ironclad. And we'll have a couple days afterwards. Do be mindful, if you're buying these with store credit and then selling them back, you have to wait 24 hours to sell them back. So be mindful of that, as well as you're going to get towards the end of the show there. So kind of the day before it actually closes out, just know that you probably you'll have purchased everything you're going to be purchasing. So just know you're going to cut off a day I usually cut myself off a day before Invictus because I'm not going to have 24 hours before I could buy them again. So yeah, just be mindful of that. On the absolute release, whatever time frame that is for you, 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time is when Invictus does its kind of reset for the day. If I wanted to buy this Paladin on that day, I just know that I'll have the Drake day and one extra day. You can't really speculate in buying too many more extra days because of the timeline. I just won't have another reset within that 24-hour period to sell it back and then buy it again. So yeah, buy a few of these if you'd like to. And again, hold on to them or put them back in your buyback, and then just make sure you buy them back before the ship actually releases to get the value out of it. Again, just like I did with the Aquila. Anyways, let me know if you have any questions. I could do a follow-up. And I appreciate y'all checking out the channel, and I appreciate y'all checking out the video, and I appreciate those that take a time to like and subscribe. And I really do appreciate the support. I know I say that every time, but I do. And I thank y'all, and I appreciate this community quite a bit. All right, catch y'all next time. Peace.